Hello, my name is T.R. Welling, and I wanted to present to you an idea that I've been having, an idea that I've been working on for the last several months, if not close to half a year. This is the fictional Starship Enterprise, 1701. From the fictional universe of Gene Roddenberry, that he was very, very likely a member of the OSS before the CIA was created. And he worked for the Monuments Men, which there was a movie not too long ago starring George Clooney and Matt Damon and some others regarding highly skilled, highly trained people going in behind the scenes, behind the lines of the Third Reich to find and pull out libraries, the artwork, and the like of the respected information that the Nazis had gone in, stolen, and then collected into a Grand Master Library. The Enterprise, as it is shown here, from a model that I built, that I purchased a week ago. The Enterprise, that I purchased, this is a not complete model of it, but it does show enough of the framework and the foundation information. The warp engines are there. The warp drives are here. The warp engine, the warp core is here. The shuttle bay, it shows the disk, of course. The saucer, the bridge. It shows these things. Now, Gene Roddenberry may or may not have been a Mason, but whether or not he was a Mason at this point doesn't really matter. What matters is that he pulled the same information from the same source that Masonry comes from. Now, Masonry has had to be rebuilt a few times because of various sort of dark ages, where religious nut jobs are not interested in facts and evidence. They're interested in promoting their theocracy and then killing anyone who doesn't believe in their theocracy. Well, eventually their descendants or other cultures that they interact with, someone's going to get rebellious and say, sorry, but I'm not interested in that, in your propaganda, your incorrect information. I'm going to use science and such. I'm going to recreate science as a group over time, and we're going to get to what actually is truth instead of what is pure theocratic fiction. This warp drive is obviously fiction. It's in a plastic container, and I think the largest models of its ilk are between 15 and 30, maybe 40 feet long. The real fictionalized concept is more than a couple hundred, if not more. Metaphorically speaking, if you visualize and pull the information out of fiction and into reality, then what Gene Roddenberry did was that he created a universe based off of the configuration of the Palatine Hill, the Esquiline Hill, the Temple of Caesar. There's a couple buildings between the Temple of Caesar and the Temple of Venus. The Temple of Venus would be here. The Temple of Venus, at some points, different points in the 12 to 1500 years, depending on how you count it, rule and reign of the Roman Empire, there was a large Jeded pillar there, DJED, which brings into the concept of Osiris, Isis, Set, and the whole city of Babylon included in that situation, which city of Babylon was also a city of pillars. So you have the Palatine Hill, you have the Esquiline Hill, you have the Temple of Caesar, you have a couple buildings here, and you have the all-important Temple of Venus. Now, the Temple of Venus was really long, several hundred feet. In fact, it's still several hundred feet. In fact, the Temple of Venus encompasses the majority of the top of, if not the entire top of, what is left of the WWII Hill. And there's the neck, the neck of that goes from the fuselage up to the saucer, and then you have the saucer. Well, if you compare this to Rome, the Palatine Hill, the Esquiline Hill, the WWII Hill, and the WWII Hill's obvious connections to Egyptology and the geodet that Osiris was placed into, and then all kinds of other stuff happened, which then produced Horus and the Eye of Horus and the like. Now this, anyone who knows anything about Rome, the eastern side of the Roman Forum, knows that a couple hundred feet in front of, to the east of the very end of the WWII Hill, which is also the very end of the complex of the Temple of Venus, you're going to have the Coliseum. And the Coliseum looks a lot like that, although oval instead of almost purely round. Very, not semi-similar to this, in its ovalish shape, although it would be designed a little different. It would be more of an actual oval than an oval with a tapered west side. Although this, in comparison to this, is in approximately the same location. So this little upturned bubble here is a little closer to the Coliseum than this very, very huge and then an excessively round saucer. Although the Coliseum is a little bigger than this, more like a little over double the width size, but it's give or take about as long, maybe a little bit longer. But the math on that are not important. But the important thing is that not how closely this resembles the mathematics and the architecture of the Temple of Caesar, Temple of Venus, the Palatine Hill, the Esquiline Hill, and the Coliseum. No, that's not the important part. The important part is the important part of the engine that creates the warp bubble and allows for faster than light travel is right here. Now, fictionally, it's right here, but in reality, this shape is the temple, is the Domus Juliae, which had a temple right here, and that temple had held a treasure, at least one major treasure, taken from the treasury of the city of Troy, the city of Ilia. The Iliad is the story of the conquest of the city of Ilia. They did not call themselves Trojans. That's the culture that Agamemnon created, and his various assorted cultures: the Hyksos, the Dorians, the Avaris, and the like, and a few other cultures that are mentioned but not as historically significant. That it's a very, very deep insult. In their language, the word Trojan is equal to, if not worse than, the N-word. The treasure of the city, one of the treasures of the city of Ilia, sat right here when compared to the Roman Forum East. This would be the Esquiline Hill. Being the Esquiline Hill, it had stuff on top of it. Well, the stuff on the Esquiline Hill, about here, because there's other stuff over here, but right here, the Esquiline Hill had on it the Imperiophora, which was kind of long. And the Imperiophora also held sacred religious treasures from the city of Troy, as well as other cities of conquest, including the city of Carthage, city of Tyre, Jerusalem itself, from previous conquests and such. So you have a sacred item here, and a sacred item here, in the Domus Juliae and the Imperiophora. Now here is obviously where the Coliseum is in the present, but here was also, actually about right here, was where the palace of Nero was, which was made from the materials that gets into a whole huge majorly gigantic conversation, because the treasures that were, the materials that were here, that created the Domus Aurea, those treasures and such, it can be linked that those treasures were built from King Solomon's temple. That trying to remember what chapter, Matthew, I think it's 13, but I'm probably maybe 8, where he predicted that the temple of King Solomon's temple would be taken down brick by brick, not leaving not a stone stacked. By the way, that's a significant thing in the ancient languages. A stacking of stones was a cairn, and a cairn is a thing done in order to be able to have a meeting place that draws the attention of the divine. A cairn would be standing stones. Now, if you remove the poetic license of the bishops of Lyon between 120 and 125 AD, if you remove propaganda, what Jesus was actually talking about was, I want you to go to Levant lands. I want you to go to the old city of the city of Jupiter, the city of IWNW. Its other name has been lost to history because that was one of Moses and the Hyksos and the Avaris and other cultures, very, very nasty, aggressive cultures. One of their primary motivations for destroying information, intellectual properties, and the like, libraries, killing scholars and the like, is to make sure that the original name of IWNW was not translated into anything other than what they wanted to translate it to, which would be the Greek version of Heliopolis. Caligula had the city of Heliopolis, the city of IWNW, its old name IWNW, moved to Rome, according to this orientation, that direction by a little less than 2 miles, to a marsh that was to the immediate southwest of the hills of the Vatican. The Vatican has been called the Vatican for a very long time. The Vatican itself is the land. The buildings on top of it are called something else. For instance, St. Peter's Basilica and St. Peter's Square, the buildings are called something else. How that plays in, because the south wall of the Sistine Chapel, the south wall of the Coliseum was dismantled. The outermost south wall of the Coliseum was dismantled, moved to the Vatican, which is if you draw a line from here through the Arch of Titus straight west, that line will bisect the very middle of the west wall of the Sistine Chapel. So there's a lot of interesting things going on here. So it's documentation possible to have the temple of King Solomon, where Masonry derives, brought to this location and to be built into a bigger, better, badder, bolder city of pillars that used to be here. There's a wetland here. That has been since filled in and partially drained, but there's the underground lake. The underground wetland is still there. It's just you have to go down several feet in order to be able to hit wet. And it's being constantly drained. That city of pillars was round and about this same size, and it had a connection to the Temple of Venus through a collection of buildings and sky bridges. Also, sky bridges between the Temple of Venus and this warp engine, the Palatine Hill, the Domus Julii, as well as the aspect just to the west, to the east of the Temple of Caesar, up to there's infrastructure and bridges and such from that base between the Temple of Venus and the Temple of Caesar up to the top of the Esquiline Hill and the Imperia Fora. So there's a lot going on here. And I haven't even gotten to the most interesting aspects of it yet. Gene Roddenberry may or may not have been a Mason. It doesn't matter, because he got the information, because a lodge building is designed to reflect this. The city of Samhain is much older than the city of Rome. Rome is just its new conquest name. The example for the city of Colorado City, which is now part of the Metroplex of Colorado Springs, which is part of the state of Colorado. That city has gone through at least 3 names. It had a name before. It had a name before 1850 something. It had a name from in that time period of Rocky Mountain, and then it had a name after that of Colorado City. Then it had another name after that of Old Colorado City. So the one place has had 3 or 4 different names. Rome, its old name previous to 553 BC was the city of Samhain, because now that's how we pronounce it, Samhain. The city of Samhain dates back thousands of years before Romulus and Remus's grandparents were born. The infrastructure from the Esquiline Hill to the eastern side of the Coliseum, the infrastructure of engineering and architecture and such, the City of Pillars was a building that was in a direct association with the WWII family. The WWII family were responsible for building and maintaining the Temple of Venus. This is the Domus Juliae, which means it's their home, which means they would have been doing constant maintenance and cleaning. The temple, the Imperia Fora was refounded and recreated and restarted and re-established by Julius Caesar, a member of the WWII family. Here's his funerary temple, indicating that he's now a demigod, or he's now a pharaoh. So you have WWII family, WWII family, WWII family, WWII family, and WWII family. I think there's a few things to do that the WWII family had directly involved with this. So, Freemasonry. This is a Freemason lodge, as well as being a fictional concept from Gene Roddenberry, as well as being the portions of the Roman Forum. This is also Freemasonry. This is Freemasonry in the aspect of this is the bridge. This is the east. This is where this is the worship master, and this is where the major officers sit. The area between the worship master's chair and the altar. There's 3 pillars involved with masonry, and there's a jaded. There's a one major pillar involved with the warp core, the core power plant that powers the ship, and allows for the warp engines to actually create a bubble in space. An OTT, for lack of a better term, AETT. So you have the altar, and you have pillars, and you have we have one pillar that's the warp engine, and you have this pillar, and you have that pillar, although they're not in exactly the correct places. Poetic license fixes that entirely. Now, over here, you have the north side gallery, which is where all new Masons come, and this is where they sit. You have this gallery, which is where the north wall, which is where some Masons sit over here, and you have the south wall, which is where you have other Masons sit. Now here you have an officer sit. Here you have another officer sit. So you have an officer here, and an officer here, which mirrors the temple that was here in the Imperia Fora. That officer and that treasure from Troy are in the same mathematical location. You have the Domus Juliae, and the temple on the corner of the rock, on the corner of the Palatine Hill, And you have that temple and that piece of material here, which is the core, the thing that makes the warped core is here. The treasure from Troy, one treasure of Troy, another treasure from Troy. A worship master, a lodge officer sits here, and a different lodge officer sits here. The worship master sits here in the bridge, and this area is a huge from here to here is a huge area for all of Masonry, and there's all kinds of rules and regulations regarding anyone going between here and here is not okay in most ways, shapes, and forms. However, you have the altar, you have the end of the altar, and then you have the way to approach entering the ship. You have the way to approach entering the ship here, the shuttle bay. In the shuttle bay is how all Masons in the world who have any training whatsoever know if the altar is here and you have the officer that sits south, and you have this, and the officer that sits the officer that sits south, the officer that sits north, the worship master is here, down the area between the altar with the pillars and the jadid, the pillars, the jadid and the pillars. The worship master sits here, and the area between the altar and the bridge where the worship master sits, along with other officers and other dignitaries of Masonry. Shuttle bay, right here. This is where you enter the shuttle. This is where you enter the ship. This is also excessively important to all Masonry. So you have a lot going on in this situation, in this pattern. You have a huge amount going on. Christianity. Masonry is based off of Christianity. Jesus was talking about Christianity. Although he didn't form Christianity, that's solely the responsibility of Paul, who was in the Dead Sea Scrolls. He was referred to as the evil priest, for good measure, because he liked killing people, and mass murder was his jam. Killing anybody who disagreed with his basic philosophies. Christ is light. Christos is Greek for anointing oil. Sacred oil anointed to be able to bring in the light of the divine. A warp bubble. A warp bubble is bending light. Beings inside of a structure that is created the jadid to the warp engines. The warp engines then create a bubble that the ship then travels through. The eastern side of the Roman Forum, of the Roman Forum. These three subjects plus Christianity, Star Wars, Star Trek, the Enterprise, Star Trek, Freemasonry, and Rome, as well as the foundation of Christianity, is basically the same subject. Now, for further information regarding this, you have, of course, the TV show, which doesn't really speak much to it because the Puritan culture wasn't quite ready to deal with facts and evidence and truth yet. Of course, they're really, really good at that. But the subject that is the most intense in this given situation is the fact that the movies are a different, first five movies are a different aspect, a different way to describe, to explain, to examine, with a different type of poetic license, a story of the Bible that has not been told yet. Well, actually it was told. It was just the first thing that Paul wanted to find and erase, and all of his begat, including the bishops of Lyon, were all very, very interested in having those pieces of information, that knowledge to not exist. So they did their best to erase this information. The first movie is about the creation of light, creation of life, because V'ger was a different kind of being. It was literally an intelligent machine, and that machine had hit sentience. Movie 2 is about the Wrath of Khan. And if you metaphorically understand that the Klingon Empire would be the Roman Senate, and of course the one who died would be the one who died, and the pursuit to resurrect all the information and such that was done to resurrect the person who died was movie 3, as well as the fight to prevent the recreation, reorientation, and rebirth of said creature who died and through various assorted aspects came back to life, as well as the next movie also deals with this same thing, but that deals with it from the perspective of Jonas, the 3 days in a whale type situation. Well, the whale metaphorically is the pyramids of Egypt, the pyramids of Egypt, which makes things just a little tiny bit more complicated. But if you draw a line from here up straight through, as in going to warp. If you stood here and looked straight down here, several hundred miles that direction, several hundred miles this direction, is going to be a perspective of the pyramids that if you draw a line from the farthest north, Jidefre, all the way down to the bottom, the pyramid, that line creates two things. One, it creates the Siamese twins, the double spine of Janus. One face west, one face east. But you also create from the tip of the nose to the tail, the top of the body is dark, and the bottom of the body is light. If you create that infrastructure, then that line, the double spine of Janus, that line that is created is very similar to the line that is created by fish, with the top of their body being dark and the bottom of their body being light. So in truth, this story is also part of the story of Jonas and the whale spending 3 days in the belly of the whale. Well, the whale architecturally is the pyramids of Egypt, which leads to an entirely other interesting sequence of information regarding the Memento Mori ceremony and the infrastructure of the Memento Mori ceremony having direct things to do with executions, because the part 0 of the Memento Mori ceremony is a group of people working together. It takes a group to do it. Part 1A is some type of an assault. In this case, with the Romans with Jews, it was lots of killing, genocide, and mass murder. That's part 1A. 1B would be some type of intimacy, and you have the Temple of Venus right dead in the middle of it, and the Vestal Virgins right next door, and and the Uded and Isis and all kinds of things right in the middle, all that included. Now you also have, to this mix, you also have the Queen of Sheba, who in the temple, in interactions with King Solomon, produced a child. That child, decades later, came back and claimed the Ark of the Covenant for himself, and that was the last time in documentation form the Ark of the Covenant was seen, was in the hands of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba's child. Where he took it, excessively good idea, good question, which has been for the last while not solved. I have ideas about that, but that's not the point. With at the end of this line, flying toward you, flying away, the end of this line, the pyramids that are over here most of the major temples have a reference to a deity that has a headdress. And the deity that has that headdress, has the Aten built in. That there's an Aten. There's a circle built into their headdress. That circle, or circle. The circle built into the headdress is a direct reference to the Aten, A-T-E-N. And the Aten has extender lines, has hand, has fingers, has limbs, has appendages from the torso out. You have fingers, hands, arms, legs, feet, toes, fingers, feet, what have you. Those connector lines, the Aten built into the headdress of the deities. By the way, the deities are also usually they're depicted between 10 and 30 feet tall. Those the causeway, the deity has a temple, and that temple is at the end of the causeway. On one end of the causeway is the temple, and the other, on the eastern side of the temple, on the eastern side of the causeway is the temple. On the western side is the pyramid itself, along with its walled-in compound. But if you draw a line down those causeways for a while, from King Solomon's temple, from the bent pyramid, you encounter King Solomon's temple. From the Juded Isis temple pyramid, you're going to bisect the cave of the Nativity. From Mount Everest, from the Khufu Pyramid's causeway, you're going to bisect Mount Everest, the very, very tippy top of Mount Everest. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Now, the third from the bottom, from the bent pyramid to one pyramid above it to the next pyramid above that, this pyramid that at this point in time I don't know the name of it yet, its causeway bisects where the Ark of the Covenant was supposedly built, was supposedly made out of partially the sacred calf, the golden calf of the pre-Moses. The symbol of the Jews previous to Moses was a bull, was the aurochs. After him, it turned into the sheep, for various sort of reasons. However, with this line to the pyramids, you run into a juncture of 16 pyramids that have causeways. Each of them has a different and distinct place that causeway bisects hundreds of miles, if not thousands of miles away. And it can be linked to the concept of the entrance temple to the east of the pyramid. Pick one. That temple with the guy with the headdress with the Aten built in, that Aten has there's an entrance temple in front of between the pyramid, the causeway, the entrance temple of the causeway, from the entrance temple before you get to the destination, be it King Solomon's temple or the Nativity or the church of the Ark of the Covenant, the entrance temple, they have a similar circle. You have a similar 8 there, at least there was, which two perfectly in a line circles, a circle here and a circle here. Those circles allow for the concept of a stabilized Einstein-Rosen bridge, which means that traveling between the pyramid and a destination, not only becomes realistic, it becomes okay, were they talking about a great river, or were they talking about some type of an Einstein-Rosen bridge and the flow, as in warp speed, traveling through that? We have no idea what the etymology is, because we have no idea what language they were using, because Latin wouldn't be in existence for like 75 to 150, 200 years, and that's the proto versions of it. And there's 6 formalized versions of Latin, including the last one that is basically dead language, because only select scholars use it, and they don't use it in everyday conversation. They use it in scholastic aptitudes and applications. There's books were still written. There's some books still written in Latin, old Latin and such, but trying to translate them is good luck, because you don't know the grammar of each individual decade. So, with a Christianity and a Romulus name, his name was forging through the Great River. Whether the Great River was actually a river or an Einstein-Rosen bridge, that are all really good questions that do not have answers at this point. My name is T.R. Welling. Please subscribe to this channel. Please hit the notification bell to the immediate right of the subscription button, and enjoy my videos. Thank you so much.